welcome back to Aquatic Elements. In today's video we're going to be talking about how you can prepare your fish and aquarium for when you go on holiday or when you go away from home. Now for some of the viewers, you will know I am going on a goldfish and tropical fish expedition to Thailand. Potentially when this video actually comes out I might already be there or I might already be back, but we'll see about that. But for those of you who know, I am going away for 8 days to Thailand and I'm leaving my monster fish behind for my friend to look after them. So in today's video, I thought I'd put together my top tips for if you're going away, how to prepare your tank for a holiday and how to make sure your fish have the best chance of survival and cope well when you are not at home. So first up, let's get into my top tip number one. Now before you go away on holiday, my number one top tip is to do a large water change. Now generally on this tank I'm doing around 35 to 40% water change once a week, but when I'm going away, as I'm going to Thailand, I'm going for 8 days, so I'm not going for a short break, I'm going for a sort of medium sized break. So I want to make sure the water quality in this aquarium is as good as possible and the fish have a really good chance and they can cope well over the period. Stormy Catfish has just come to say hello. So generally I'm going to do a 45 to 50% water change and make sure I'm changing a little bit extra water than usual. Now this is going to ensure the water quality is good and the fish are as happy as possible. A little Dapnoid has sort of come to say hello as well, which is quite funny. He's not normally out and up close and personal like that. So I'm changing the water. As you can see, we've changed a couple of inches so far. I'm going to let it drain for another 30 to 40 minutes and then I will begin to fill it back up, and that is going to be my first top tip. So once I've drained this water, once the tank's back up and running, we can look at the other top tips I have for if you're going on holiday and you're leaving your tank for an extended period.
A few moments later.
And now we've got the water change done. The tank is a little bit cloudy, but it should clear up over the next few hours. The next top tip I want to talk to you about is food. Now, I would say this is probably the most important factor when going on holiday, and there are so many instances, and I've heard so many horror stories where someone has got a neighbour or a friend to feed their fish whilst they're away, and they fed way too much food and just wiped out the entire tank. It is such a common occurrence. So there are a few options for feeding your fish if you are planning to go on holiday. I would say if you're planning to go for anything less than 5 days, with the majority of fish species you do not need to feed them. These guys would be fine if I went for even 7 days. They're not going to have an issue because majority or all of them are predatory fish and they can go for long periods without food. However, I would prefer to give them some food. I prefer to keep them happy and healthy whilst I am away. But in extreme cases, you really do not need to feed them, and you're probably going to cause more harm than good if you get someone to feed your fish rather than not feed them at all. If you've got fancy goldfish and you're going away for 5 days or less, just don't feed them. The other option is to get an auto feeder. Now, my favourite auto feeder is this one right here, and that is the Eheim auto feeder. Really easy to set up. The batteries seem to last on this feeder for absolutely ages, and they do a really good job. Now, I'd always recommend if you do plan to use an auto feeder, because some of you at home may say, what if the feeder malfunctions and feeds all of that food into the aquarium? Then obviously you're going to have issues. Now, if you're going to use an auto feeder and you don't want to use it on your tank all the time, then use one and set it up within, I would say, 4 to 5 days before you go away to make sure it is working well and it's working okay. If you're going away for 14 days, put a maximum of 14 days worth of food in the feeder. Don't fill it up fully, that gives you a couple months worth of food, because if it does malfunction, it's going to dump all of that food into the aquarium. But if the feeder does malfunction, you've gone away for 14 days, you put approximately 14 days worth of fish food in. If it malfunctions halfway through, you're only going to get 7 days worth of fish food going into the tank at once, rather than a couple months worth, which could be catastrophic. So if you're going away for say 7 days or 10 days, put 7 days or 10 days worth of fish food, or slightly less, So your fish are still getting fed whilst you're away, but they're not getting quite as much. You can limit that food a little bit, just so your tank doesn't get dirty. You're not polluting the water as much. You're not leading to a large buildup of debris and detritus in the water, which could cause some issues whilst you're away. That is definitely a top tip if you're going to use an auto feeder. Now, if you don't like auto feeders, you definitely don't want to use an auto feeder, but you still want someone like a friend or family potentially to feed your fish, then portion the food out. I would use something like this, which is an ice cube tray. As you can see here, I think we've got what, 8 cubes on each side, so we've got like 16, I think there's 8 or 7. We've got 7 cubes on each side, so this is potentially 14 days worth of fish food. You can put the pellets into each of these if you're feeding pellets or if you're feeding sticks, etc., or flakes. You can put them into each one, so there you have your portion, and then you can hide the rest of the fish food so they're not tempted to give any more. They take out the day 1, day 2, etc., feed it to the fish, and that is all they're given. So that means your fish will not be overfed because you've portioned that food out for them. Or if you really trust them, you can give them strict instruction to show them exactly how much to feed, and really enforce that if they give any more food, they could cause a lot of problems or even lead to the fish's death. Now for these guys, they are mainly eating mussels and prawns, and that is what I am going to prepare for them to go away. Now as I'm going on holiday, I have one of my friends coming to feed my fish. So instead of me showing him the frozen prawns, the frozen mussels, how to defrost them, cut them up and then feed them to the fish, I'm going to make it super easy for him and prepare all of that now. So let's head over to the kitchen. I'll show you exactly how I prepare it and get it ready for my holiday. So it's super easy for someone to come and feed the fish. Only takes a few minutes out of their day, rather than them taking sort of 10-15 minutes to feed the fish and potentially doing something slightly wrong. So let's head over to the kitchen and prepare this fish food. So as you can see, I've got my chopping board. I'm now going to prepare all of the food for the monster fish. I've also got my big knife because I need to cut through all of this frozen food. Now first up, we've got some raw king prawns. I've also got another bag here. We've also got some cooked mussels, and then I've actually picked up these really small cold water prawns. I'm not going to chop those ones up, but I'm going to see if the fish will take those as well, just to try something slightly different. And then essentially what I've got is 7 mugs. I'm going away for 8 days, but I'm feeding them on the first day as my flight is in the evening. So I've got 7 mugs here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop all of the ingredients up, and then I'm going to divide them all up into those mugs, put them back into the freezer, and then when my friend comes along, he can take them out of the freezer, put some water into there, defrost them, and then pour them into the tank. Nice and simple. So let's start off with the ingredients. I'm just going to pour quite a lot of the ingredients out onto the chopping board, get them all chopped up, and then I can portion them out into the different cups. So you can see just how much food these fish eat over a week period. They go through, I would say you get through a full, I believe this is 250 gram bag or 200 gram bag every single week, maybe a little bit more than that. And obviously as these fish grow, they're going to consume more and more. So keeping monster fish can be expensive, feeding them, but it is absolutely awesome to watch these guys eat, and this is some really good quality food for them, rather than them getting some pellets that aren't as enriching. Now we've prepared our food for when I go away, let's talk about the third top tip I have. And this is to actually get a Wi-Fi camera, just like this one, which is a indoor ring camera. Now I absolutely love this. This puts me at so much peace of mind. Oftentimes you can go away and think maybe something's wrong, or you have a weird feeling that something's not quite right at home, and if you can't contact anyone or no one's in your house, sometimes people overthink and you don't really want to be stressing or worrying whilst you're on holiday. Having that ring camera or having that Wi-Fi camera really does put your mind at peace. Now, I have my camera directly opposite this aquarium under the sofa, so if I'm abroad or if I'm on holiday, I can check my phone within 30 seconds, have a close look at the tank and see how they are doing, and it just puts your mind at peace. And you can see how your fish are doing. Also, if there are any problems, maybe something's not working, maybe the electricity's tripped or something, you can then take precautions to call someone or get someone to come over and check out the aquarium or check out your fish. And I really like having the camera. I think I paid about 50 quid for mine about a year and a half ago, and it has done an absolutely great job, and I can always check up on the fish and make sure they're okay. And also, if someone is feeding them and they have some questions, they can send you a message. You can get on the camera and you can actually talk to them, and they can talk back to you to explain maybe something about the tank, or if you want something doing slightly different, for example. So that is my third top tip, and the last, fourth top tip, which is just a general one, is to tell whoever is looking after your fish some key information. Essentially, don't overfeed them. Observe them, make sure nothing is wrong, like the bubble wall, for example, isn't running, because if that bubble wall isn't running, potentially the air pump's broken or potentially the electricity isn't on. Make sure obviously your return pump is working and you're getting flow around the aquarium. A few bits and pieces like that. Maybe check the heater thermostat, few bits of key information, nothing too major, so when they come in they can check air bar's working, return pump's working, we've got some flow around the tank, all the fish are active. I'm going to obviously defrost that food and then pour it into the tank. Super simple for someone to look after your aquarium whilst you're away. And I would say they are my sort of 4 top tips. If you're going on holiday or you're going abroad, that is the precautions that I would take and the steps I would take to ensure you have happy and healthy fish when you return. But that's it for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you do have any other top tips that you'd recommend, please leave them down in the comment section below for me and also for the viewers. But that's it for today's video. Thank you all for watching. Remember to keep those water changes up, and happy fish keeping.